Everyone, so last week I mentioned VE Day. I'm going to tell you a bit about it now. You might have heard of World War II. It started in Europe in 1939 because of a not very pleasant leader of Germany called Adolf Hitler. He had some very strong views of how to make the world a better place, especially for Germany. He did some very nasty things to try and get his master plan to work, and some countries were on his side. Not everybody agreed with him, and England was one of the countries that didn't. So we first asked him to change his mind, but he didn't. So England and a group of countries called the Allies went to war to stop him. The war lasted 5 years, and the whole world joined in partly because there was a thing called the British Empire, which meant we actually ruled over countries like India and a Commonwealth that still include countries like Canada, Australia, and partly because we weren't the only country who didn't agree with Hitler. Hitler did have countries on his side, some because they thought it would be better to be on the side that they thought would win, and partly because some agreed with him. He also made promises for what he would do once they won. It wasn't just armies fighting on land, it was navy at sea and air forces in planes. It was 5 years of going without, not seeing people they loved, doing things by the rules, but people pulled together, they made the best of what they had. They were scared and worried about the future, but it didn't stop them fighting to get to the end, a bit like us all now. Many people joined up, became soldiers, sailors, airmen, or joined their support crews. A lot of people who weren't in any of the armed forces did other things to help, like making sure people observed things called the blackout, where you couldn't have lights outside at night, watching for planes where bombs were dropped. Fishermen went out looking for sea mines. Women joined the land army, working on farms, and much, much more. Scouts were very important. Their training meant they were ahead of non-scouts when they joined the armed forces with things like map reading skills and signalling. Even younger scouts could do jobs like messengers and helping at first aid posts, or observation. There are many, many stories of brave scouts who were killed or injured helping the war effort. Even the youngest scouts and cubs helped with things like collecting recycling and even hunting for acorns to feed the pigs because food was in short supply. Girls were guides and brownies, not scouts, but they still had skills that helped, like first aid, sewing, cooking. It was a tough 5 years. A lot of people went off to fight and didn't come home. Those who did were often injured or suffered mentally because of things they'd experienced. People at home put up with a lot of change. Food was rationed, so were clothes and petrol, and even sweets. You were allowed 50 grams of sweets a week. That's 1.5 cream eggs. I don't think I could last that a week on that few sweets. A lot of people tried growing their own food, like carrots, potatoes, and other veg to boost their food. People even kept chickens for eggs and meat, or rabbits. Some even managed to keep a pig. I've put some more information on rationing if anyone is interested, and some cool ration book recipes that are great at the moment when it's not always easy to get things like eggs, and also good for people with allergies. When the war ended, everybody celebrated. They went out on the streets and sung and danced. They had street parties. VE stands for Victory in Europe, because the war wasn't finished everywhere, not quite yet. It was still going on, especially in Asia. So this year is probably the last big anniversary that we can share with the veterans of World War II. There aren't many left, and everybody who was old enough to fight or work is now over 90. Even the youngest children who can remember it are over 80. That is why it was going to be extra special. This coming weekend we should have been celebrating. There were parades planned, street parties, big national events, and even little local ones, church services, flypasts, and much more. But we can still celebrate and remember and reflect. Hopefully you have started doing red, white and blue and poppy pictures and decorations, so that when the veterans are going outside, they will see we remember. And tonight we are going to make candle holders, so that on Friday we can all light a candle in our window or garden to remember. Okay, so I've made a few different lanterns. I'll go through them and what I've made them out of. So first of all, just a plain glass jar, and I've just painted on it. It is just normal acrylic paint, but I'm sure you can use poster paint. With poster paint, if you put a little bit of washing up liquid in it, it helps it stick to the glass. So yeah, I'm sure you can come up with different designs. As I say, that's just a normal glass jar. You can also do a milk bottle. So that's literally just got the top taken off. Now with the milk bottles, it might be easier to draw it on a piece of paper. So this is tracing paper. You can use tracing paper, grease proof. There's multiple names for it, but the one that you line cake tins with. You can also use the paper, the grease proof paper, with the glass jars. So a little bit of PVA glue and run that round. You can always trim your paper so that it fits better. Nice and simple. And then with it being slightly see-through the paper, the light will shine through when I put my tea light, my candle in it. So other options we've got is, this is also a plastic bottle, just the bottom of it. And I've used some double-sided sticky tape just on the edge. The flowers used to be an egg box, these bits from the egg box, and all you need to do is, so that's it once it's done before it's painted. So these are just ripped out. All you need to do, adults, again you might need to help with this, is if you just curve them slightly, because when you rip them out they come out a little bit pointed, just so it looks a little bit more like a flower. A little bit like that. The leaves, I've made them out of the lid of the egg box, so the flat section. But you can make them out of anything. And just, yeah, I've painted them. You can use pens or anything you like. So another option is, so this one's also a plastic bottle. You can cut them out of, this was a sweetie wrapper, nice and shiny, so they look pretty. And I've got a leaf cut out as well. So if we quickly draw the lines on here. And then, as I say, you can use PVA or adult glue. By adult glue, I mean Yoo-hoo. My glue wants to come out. So I just put a little dot on the back, and these will sit on here. Possibly with the sweetie wrappers it might be better to use Yoo-hoo, the adult glue, because it dries slightly quicker. Don't want them falling off. Again, tiny dot on the back. And then I've got a couple more to stick on, to stick on later. I'm going to slide my leaf down here. And then once that dries, and I've stuck the last two on, that'll be ready to have its candle put in. As I say, you can use pretty much anything. Bigger milk bottles, I mean the one that I just showed you was a 1 pint, this is a 4 pint. Just cut it in half And with it being slightly cloudy and using the greaseproof or just drawing on it, the light will shine through. And there's multiple different designs you can do. Use your imagination. There are some ideas that I've already posted up on Goth Beaver Facebook page and Instagram. But as I say, use your imagination and just show that you remember the World VE Day and what it's all about. So that's your window challenge for this week. So let's fill every space we can with red, white and blue. I'm going to put a strip of bunting and a banner outside my hut shortly. And get all of my lanterns up and ready for Friday. And that is everything for this week. So post pictures of your lanterns and don't light them yet, light them on Friday. Just to show that we remember, as I say. It'll mean a lot to the veterans and the older generation to prove that the younger generations do remember them. I'll see you again next week. Just before I go, there is another video for Scouts and for Cubs doing slightly harder lanterns. So if you are older, please do watch that one as well. On Friday, there will be a 2-minute silence at 11 o'clock. Maybe do it in your uniform and maybe salute at the end of the 2 minutes. Get a parent or someone to take a picture of you in your uniform doing the 2-minute silence. On St George's Day, after I renewed my promise, I was seen by an elderly gentleman just down the road from me, and he thought it was amazing that I was in my uniform, because 70 odd years ago he himself was a scout, and it made his day that I saluted him, that I was in my uniform and I was proud to be in my uniform. So whenever you are wearing your uniform, be it Scouts, Beavers, Cubs, Guides, whatever association you're in, or even if you're not in association, be proud to wear your uniform. So I'll post the older video for the older Cubs and Scouts, and as I say, see you next week.